Okay, hi guys. So this is part 2 of my new Instagram Procreate colouring tutorial. Part 1 was live. This part is recorded in real time and will be uploaded to the IGTV. So this is where we got to yesterday. This is a colouring page from my own colouring book, which is available now. I'll quickly show you this book. So this is the one that's newest. It's out now. It's hardback. It's focused on my characters from the Little Darlings. So this one's now the Darling Collection, and it's specifically portraits. So the reason why it's been laid out like this is because I could do the Darling Collection fairies or mermaids, whatever it is that I feel like going into next. So this is the book. As I said, it's hardback. What I do in all of my colouring books is I add tutorials. So we have extra bits that help. We've got colour combos, swatch indexes, and then I add in tutorials at the back on how to colour certain things. I actually run a colouring workshop. So these are what I would teach in the colouring workshop. So I've given you some bits that I found most popular and probably most helpful, as this is about portraits, including portrait practice, the colours I would use, how I use them, and where we would place them on a face, for example. So all these things are there to give you some advice and to help you out. And then of course you have the main body of the colouring book. I always do the characters. I always add them toward the back so you can see them all individually. And then we go into the full size illustrations here. These girls are deliberately multicultural, different skin types, hair type, even time differences. We have some, Egyptian here. We had some 1920s England a little bit further back. Some lovely Chinese here as well. So yeah, it's pulled from all different walks of life, really. This is actually one of my most favourite books, especially because it's so lovely and it's hardback. I just really like that. The paper quality is also better than what you would normally get on Amazon. So that book is available worldwide Amazon, or for a quick automatic download from my Etsy store. So the page that we are doing is, I'll just cover that up, this one here. So I've already coloured her previously, and we're just going to go in and do it completely different to what I've done before. She is probably one of my favourite girls from the book. We did the skin tone and the hair and the eyes in part 1. We are now moving into other areas of the colouring page, and I've been left with a decision regarding her hair. So I went through the different layers and why I use them and what it is that I do, and they have different functions. So predominantly I use them for lighting. So what I've done here, let's remove that. This is the hair colour that we did last time. And then I was going to add another layer, which would be light. So it's either going to affect the depth or the tone or even the colour sometimes. So if I add that, that's what it would look like, flat lay normal. So what we did last time was we used it and we put it down as an overlay. And I think, let me find out where we were. Here. This is where we'd gone to. So we actually brought it up so it was a lot lighter. And I do like it. And I've been looking at it and I've been changing my mind. I think I'm going to go completely different and bring it down to here. So I think we are going to keep it darker. I was a little bit concerned that maybe it was too dark, but actually I think we're going to go with that. I'm not sure her eye colour works now, but we'll have to fix that as we go along. So the next thing that I'm going to do is start working on her clothes. And then once we've done that, we can start working on the background. So this is the portrait so far. We can remove these layers that aren't being used. And what we can do is group them together. So I can rename that. I do not like writing with a pen. Let's call this, let's just go with girl. So this is all the elements that make her up. So now we have to add the clothes. And what I'm going to do is actually bring the clothes in underneath her skin. So I can add these layers, bring that up, and then we're going to go down here below. So let's have a look at what we have here and the type of textures that we can create. The other thing to remember is that although some of these elements are quite dark, we haven't brought any light into it yet. So there's no lighting effects. There's no highlights that I add at the end, so that will all be brightened up, don't worry. So I actually think we should bring in a brighter colour. I'm thinking of these two down here. So I'm going to use my round brush, and again my round brush for blending, and because it's easier we'll stick to it for the eraser as well. So if I pick up our pink colour here, and I'm going to fill in into these layers in a flat lay colour, and then we can adjust whatever it is that we don't like once we have that down. So you could be watching me on IGTV right now, or you could be watching me on YouTube or even Facebook. If you are and you want to see more of my videos, I am on all of the main social media networks such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. My name is always a combination of Kelly Artist Horton or Kelly Horton Artist. I do regular live streams, regular tutorials. And yeah, if you want some hints and tips, whether it's digitally like this, I'm in a bit of a digital phase at the moment, so I'm sharing quite a lot of information here just because I'm really enjoying it. And then sometimes I'll get a bit bored of digital and then I'll go back to traditional. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. You'll find that I jump between them quite regularly. I colour with lots of different colouring pencils and alcohol markers. I also use watercolours and inks. So it's a bit of a jump all over the place. You should be able to find me doing something that you would like. So this is the top colour, and you know, looking at it from here, I think we should have some of this pink in her skin tone eventually. The lip colour is really not working. It's far too dark. What I think we can do, I'm really liking her with the darker skin tone rather than with that layer over the top, but I'm very aware that it makes the whole portrait quite dark. Maybe if we can come somewhere in the middle, maybe somewhere there, like that. Now I'm going to come up again and I'm going to look at bringing some of this colour in, but I'm going to go darker. So this is where we are on the colour wheel, and I'm going to stay in my same value range, but I'm going to come down. And I think we should introduce some of this colour into, let me see what layer we're on. Where are her lips are up here, that's why it's not working. Let's come down to here. So I can clear that and we can go straight onto this layer. So if I alpha lock it into position and I select, I can fill that layer. So that makes more sense. That colour is beginning to match some of the tones around it. So now I've found my dark colour because I've used it on her lips there. I'm going to come back down to the corset. I'm going to alpha lock it into position, select, and then come up a layer. And we are going to start doing the way that I always do it, which is we're going to come in and start adding some shadows. Now, we want the shadows to follow any shapes of the body or the clothes, depends on what it is that she's wearing. At the same time, we want to think about lighting. So because we haven't brought in any lights that would be brought on by the type of colouring page, what I've put down, when she's not in the environment yet, she's looking right in front of me. I am the light bulb, so my light will shine directly down the centre of everything. And I want to create a silk effect. So I want it to have a bit of a shine on it. So what I'm going to do is add all my shadows to the outer edges, and we're going to bring it into the centre where ultimately it's going to be lightest in the centre. So I'm going to make this quite thick because I'm going to go darker again, right into the line art. So the darkest of my shadows will be, let's come right down again and go into that line art there. And just a reminder, or if you didn't watch the first part, the reason why I'm so loose and I'm okay to be colouring everywhere is because we've alpha locked this layer. So at the moment we can only paint specifically on this area, which is why I always put a flat lay down first. That way we don't have to worry about going out the lines every 5 minutes, because I am awful at going out the lines. So I always alpha lock my layers and make sure that whatever mistakes I could possibly make is maintained or contained to this one layer. So I think we should blend that. Although, actually, we should probably do it on another layer. Let's bring that up. We've got this down the center here. I want that to be darker because that would work quite well if I'm going to bring a shine in. And I'm going to color these laces in as well. So let's come back down and let's start to blend that out. So I'm going to drop this layer down. We're still alpha locked into position, and we're just going to start blending these colors out. So my opacity is right the way down, and I'm going to go for quite a medium sized brush here. And we are just going to go in and just start blending. So I am just dragging this colour out. Do you know what? I don't like that. I think that's too big and we're too high there. So let's go again. We'll bring this layer out first. Now blending does take time. It does not go quickly, especially as we're trying to create. We don't just want to blend, we are trying to create textures or shadows. You know, our blending has a reason behind it. It's not just a fade out. We want it to specifically do certain things like create shapes. So because of that, it will take longer to blend out, and we should be able to swap all the time. We're going between our blending brush, and then we can go back in if we need to add more color as well. So I'm just going to keep on blending this outward until I have a nice blend. I'm not worried about having lines such as this line here, because we are working with material now, and if it's going to be silk, the shadows would be quite prominent on it, so it doesn't behave the same way that, for example, skin would when I really want to blend that out. So I like this blend already down this side. I'm keeping it quite sharp at the bottom, and then we can do the same over on this side. We're just going to pull that out. And if we're a little bit worried that our blends come too far out, we can just push it back. Take a look at the other side, and we can just decide if we need to adjust it slightly. So I'm just going to keep on going. Depending on what it is that you're colouring, depends on the way that you would blend. So because I'm following the pattern here, or the shape of the object, I'm kind of blending quite linear. You know, I'm just following it round. If I was trying to completely erase this edge here, I would probably buff it. By buff it, I mean using lots of little circles to buff out those lines. But I'm not upset with the lines. I'm quite happy for them to be there. So that one's fine. We can maybe just sharpen that up a little bit there. There you go. And then pull it back, have a look and see where we are. So I've blended this side out here into a nice kind of point, but without there being too much colour there. So I'll do the same on that side. I'm just going to slightly adjust my lighting. I think that's better. My lights are kind of bouncing off my screen So I'll just slightly move that light away. That's better. So just keep on blending until we've gone all the way around the corset or the bodice. I'm buffing out these lines slightly around the top. And the same on this side. And because I've alpha locked this into position, it's not going to affect any of the colours around it. I can't rub it out or push it over onto the skin tone because it's locked into position. But at the same time, I've just noticed that it's on the upper layer. So the skin tone here, if I take that off alpha lock, is slightly overlapping. So I'm just going to go around and tidy that up so that that doesn't show. We didn't really notice it before because there was no colour really for it to show up on it. It's only the tiniest amounts. But that, I can see that, so that would annoy me. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to alpha lock that back in so we know it's safe. Leave that one there and then come back down to here and alpha lock this one in. So we have the darker areas around the outside now, and I'm going to still come in a little bit more. But what I'm thinking, if we add a layer to make sure we don't go wrong, select it again, come up. If I pick this colour up and then we start to go lighter and we bring that down the centre and then we go again and go right the way up and go nice and bright, and then we come down the centre again, we're on another layer, so we haven't affected the lower layer. Let's see what that would look like if we were able to blend that out, because I still want these shadows around the top, so I'm going to drag them back down. I still want them there, and let's see if we can pull this out. Let's buff this line out first. And I think we should bring it here. Maybe just bring it a little bit further out on each side, just so we can get like a center shine on it. Let's see what we can do with that. I'm just going to blend that outward. And then blend it together with this light colour. I still want my shadows, so I'm going to keep trying to keep them there whilst at the same time buffing this colour out. Like that. Now I think that works really well on that side, so we'll do the same on this side. What you'll find that I do a lot as well when I'm drawing or colouring digital, I will turn my page all the time. If you think if we were drawing on a piece of paper, nobody ever, you know, sits and draws perfectly straight. We always turn our books. So if you are drawing or colouring digital, remember that you can turn it whichever direction works for you. So I usually just turn it depending on, you know, how it's easiest for me to have hand movements or blending or moving around. So don't forget that. You can of course do that. So let's keep that shadow and blend out a little bit underneath it. And then we can buff this out here. Bring it all the way down. And then let's put that shadow back. We want that shadow down there. We can just blend it gently. All we need to do is buff this side out. And I actually think it's worked really well. I want to maybe, let's bring this center line out just a little bit further. I think that side was enough. Let's just do this side. And then we can probably add another highlight right down the middle. And then let's go a little bit lighter and go right down there and there. And let's buff this one out. And we don't really want to spread it out. We want it to look like a shine. So we just don't want it to be hard. So, you know, I can pull it out and then drag it back in again to make sure that it isn't just too much. And do the same on both sides. And just keep on blending until you're happy with the way that that looks. And as long as I've still got my shadows, which I do, I am happy with that. I mean, there's other things we can do. I would normally do it at the end, but we could do it as we go purely because it's just a bit of fun, really. It's probably the best part. So, wrong colour. Let's add that back in. So now we have to do the laces. I'm going to drop down the whole bodice because I'm happy with that. And then come up and we're going to do these laces here. And I think we should go for almost white so they stand right out. So I'm literally just going to colour them in. Now we could be a bit fancy with them and we could add some tones and some light and dark if you want. We can do that as well. So we could just put get the base layer in first, just the flat lay down. And because we can use Alpha Lock, it means we can do these type of things quite quickly without worrying about going out of the lines or staying on it for too long. Let's just get the flat lay down first. There you go, there's the flat lay down. And I think for now we should probably leave that. We could be a bit fancy and add some shadows, but I think we should leave it. One thing that we can do, I'm going to drop that down because I think it's done and it's fine. We can add some detail to the clothing. What we'll do, if we do the skirt next, then we can come back and add some detail. But while we're here, because we like these colours, I'm going to select the lips and come up a layer, and I think we should do them because I'm going to use these colours here anyway. So if I pick up this darkest one and I can go and add some details into her lips, some shadowed and some highlight areas. So we can go in like that. And let's pick up a highlight colour, and then we can go in and just add some highlights in as well and blend this all together. So I'm not being too perfect. I'm going to blend this layer and then we can see if we need anything else or any more colours. So I'm going to bring this right the way down because we don't need it to be too big. And mostly, I'm going to drop that down as well. Mostly all I'm doing really is making sure that there's quite a smooth transition between these different colours. So it's quite a lot of buffing really, and then just dragging some of the shadows up and creating a shape with them. And again, we don't have to be crazy careful because we've alpha locked, so it's not going to go anywhere. And if we go really wrong, so what? It's only a small area of the whole picture. We can, you know, we can either do it again, we can adjust it, we can change it. We might as well get quite experimental. So that is where we are at the moment. I'm really liking these dark areas. So that's too thick. I am going to put that back in there. And I might leave that a little bit hard as a line and not worry about buffing it out too much. Let's go a little bit darker. Like that. And we can pull back and have a look. That does need blending. So we can blend that out. I'm dragging it more than I am really blending. I'm just dragging it into the other colours so we get a smooth transition. And then again, I hope the tapping of my pen on my screen doesn't annoy people, and some people really don't like that sound. I don't mind it. It doesn't really affect me, but I know it does really upset some people. Trust me, I'm not going too hard that I'm going to end up smashing through my screen. It can take it. It's fine. There you go. Now I think the only thing that we can do is add one more lighter colour until we get to any sort of a final highlight stage. So I'm just going to bring this colour in, and I'm bringing it in quite gently, and I am blending it out quite gently because I don't really want to move all the other colours around now. I'm quite happy with that. Back button, there you go. I'm going to put it there, and then the same on the other side, and a bit of a join in the middle. Now all we have to do is just blend that out nicely. And I think that there is the lips done for now. Until we add maybe some shine later on, if she's got lip gloss on, or, you know, little details like that we can add toward the end. I'm just going to touch up in the fight right in the corners, and then alpha lock that back into position. Okay, so we now have a question of what are we going to do with the skirt. Should it be the same colours as the top, or should it be different? Short answer, I don't know. I think I'd be tempted to stick with the same colour. So I think we will do that. I am going to come down to this layer down here. So if I put my flat lay colour in, we were with this one first. What I'll do is I'll put a flat lay in of this colour, and then we can take another look and see if we like it. I'm not worried about going over these things, by the way, down here, because we can just layer over the top, so it's not really an issue. I'm not going to spend time colouring all the way around them just yet. I will need to when it comes to my shadows, but I don't need to do that yet. So if we're going to stick to the same colour, basically we're going to be having it look a little bit like that. Obviously without the texture and stuff. So we can kind of have a look and see whether we're happy with that colour or we would like to change it. So we can cycle through different colours here and see if we like it or if we don't like it, with different colours in mind. The only colour it hasn't really shown is yellow. I was wondering, can we get near a yellow maybe there? That's not yellow, is it? We don't really have a yellow. It's not very helpful. I was hoping to get maybe a yellow colour, but now I'm looking, I don't think it really works. I think we'll stick with the same colours that we did the top. It's quite safe, isn't it? I know, but I do like things to match. So I will alpha lock that in as I always do and select it and move up a layer so I can go straight in with the shadows the same way we did on her top. But I'm going in this time with the darkest colour first time because I'm working from the top. So we're going to come in and do the exact same thing that we did, except for this time we are going to go around, because we do know if these were in front of the clothes and we were a light bulb, then these would cast shadows onto her clothes. So we can come all the way around and then down the bottom, and we're going to go across the bottom as well actually. I don't know whether we should do that, that's part of the border, but I think just so that we are consistent, we will do that as well. Around and down, and maybe make these sides just a little bit thicker. And then what I'm going to do is come straight in. Do we have a history? Yes, we do. There. Is that my next colour? Almost. So I'm going to come in with the next one straight away so that we can just blend out quite quickly. We don't want to go over there, we want to go in front of. Don't have to be particularly careful because we're going to be blending it anyway. I'm just going to drop that in, and then we can just start blending. I will wait till we blended this layer before we bring the highlights in. So I'm dropping this down together, my blending tool, and we're just going to start blending out the same way that we did when we were doing the top. So I'm blending this darker line out first, and then I am blending this one and maybe pushing it back a little bit, moving it around so we're happy with the way it's positioned. Get rid of some of those edges as well. Like that. And then we just have to move all the way around again, doing it all together the same way. There are, of course, tools to blend with Procreate. It does give you tools to do that so you don't have to do it yourself. The difference is that you can't control the blend that way. Yeah, it will successfully blend all your colours out for you, but it doesn't blend in a certain direction. It doesn't blend, you know, in whichever particular way you like to do it. So although it's there, it's great for backgrounds. If you're just looking for a lovely gradient, it works perfect for gradients. But when it comes to, I think, things like this, I would always prefer to do it myself. So I'm just dragging this shadow out a little bit further. I am sorry, camera's getting a bit bouncy. I'm just going to move that out of the way. So I actually really enjoy blending, as long as it works. If it doesn't work, then I obviously don't enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's quite relaxing. And of course, it's not if it doesn't work. If we need to change things, I'm just going to drop that back in a little bit. I thought it got a bit muddy there. So I can use that to push back some of those colours I didn't really mean to make when I was blending those two together. And maybe we can have these fans can have quite sharp shadows because they are going to be shining. The shape of the fan will be reflecting on the dress because of the shadows. So let's just pick up some of this colour again. we can come down and make it a bit thinner. And then we can blend that quite carefully. There you go. So we can see this shape still needs to be on the dress because it is obviously going to be a shadow. Just like that there. And let's bring this down into a nice shape as it rounds, and then we can drag it back out for this side of this fan. So you can see that it's not just a gradient blend, we are creating shapes here, which is why really the Procreate, the blending tools you get which are automatic, they won't take this into account. And as you can see, it can take quite a long time. You really do need to kind of commit to this. If we're going to blend, we're going to blend it right. And we just keep on going. I'm going to bring some of these shadows back in slightly. There you go. And the same just on that side there. So you can see the shape of the fan still. Just blend it all out, and then we can push it back in, and we can push it back in, still using that shape. It is a lot really when we have to take into consideration so many different elements of a colouring page. I don't know what I've done there. Look at the state of that. Completely lost it at that point. Let's bring that back in. We'll go there. That's better. Yeah, it still requires cleanup. We have to go round and, you know, check all of our lines, but I've seen so many different colorists over the last few years, and some of the skills that I am seeing from what I don't want to say hobby colorist and in any way downgrade what they do. I don't mean that. I just mean they're not being paid for it. Are absolutely amazing. I've seen so many people who literally, even I don't know how they're so good. And it's because they take so many things into consideration. They do take all the light sources. Their blending skills are just stunning. Whether it's digital or traditional, it's just amazing. I've just seen so many people who are just so good at it, which I just think is brilliant. I really do. I love getting tagged. If you are colouring any of my colouring books or colouring pages and you're on any of the social networks, remember you can tag me so I can see what it is that you've done. I'd love to get tags and give people a bit of a shout out as well. So if you are colouring anything that's mine and you post on social media, tag me so I can see what you've done. I absolutely love seeing all the things that you create. So we're finally nearly there. Just this bottom part and then the whole bottom of that fan. Sorry. You can tell that, well, I'm going quite quickly. It's just the fact that you have to take so much into consideration. That's all really. It's definitely not one of those things that you should be rushing. Especially if you are doing this traditionally with pencils or marker pens. Now, I love blending alcohol markers. I love it so much. I don't use anything to blend them with other than the markers. So if you are using alcohol markers and you're thinking that you're struggling with blending, what I can tell you now off the top of my head, the easiest way to think about it is the wetter, the better. Get your page that you're trying to blend, so not soaked as in falling to pieces, but you want down a lot of marker. So they are alcohol markers. They are designed to dry quite quickly. They aren't supposed to be sitting, you know, really wet the way watercolors would. But if you're fast enough, you can put down enough of that alcohol marker for the ink to soak through the page. And once you've done that, you want to start layering your marker pens. You want them to blend. The best way to make them blend is, because it's alcohol will blend quite easily. The best way to do that is to make sure that you're blending them together when they're both wet. If you let an alcohol marker dry on the page before you blend, that's when it will become streaky, and you might get upset with the fact that you can't get really nice like gradient blends. So you have to make sure that when you're doing that with marker pens, that the page is still wet when you're trying to blend them. That is definitely my #1 tip for alcohol markers. I've also found, actually, we'll go for a #2 tip. My #2 tip would be, do not buy expensive just because people tell you to. So I know there are some brands out there that are very expensive and are supposed to be very good. I don't know, because I haven't bought very expensive marker pens. I use Spectrum Noir pens, which can become a bit pricey after a while. But my most favourite marker pens ever are these ones. Let me grab it. I hate having to say this name as well. The Ohuhu marker pens. I absolutely love them. They blend amazing. You get a massive amount of pen for the cost. You can also get larger, much larger, like collections. They come in a nice pen holder as well for you, and they're just brilliant. The amount of different shades you get, they just really are just brilliant. I absolutely love them. Definitely my favourite markers on the market. So we've done our shadow. We're now going to start using these light colours, and because we can't go straight down the middle, we're going to use them in these lighter areas. So it's alpha locked into position, and I'm going to select it and then move up the next layer. I don't want to put anything down on that layer. I'm too scared of ruining it now, because I spent so long having to blend that. I don't want to wreck that. So we're going to come up a layer, and we'll just do the blending on this one and then drop it down. So that's our lighter colour. Let's just, we're going to buff that out more than we are blend it out, because I'm going to keep it out of the shadowed area. There you go. So we still want that lighter colour to be showing, but we don't want that to change what we've just spent so long doing here. And I can see this shadow area. I can see there's more places where I could blend it out, but I don't want to be doing that for, like, all day. And I know that I can. If I have to, I can come back and maybe tidy it up a little bit if I'm not happy with that, the blending 100%. So because I'm on social media, it also means that I can see your questions when posted on any of my videos, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, you know, Insta, or even TikTok. So if you do watch anything that I am doing and you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. I will see them and I will come. And if you need some help with anything, if you want some advice from me, pop it in the comments and I will come, I will see it and I will answer them. I run a colouring workshop as well, you see, so I understand how it's hard to start off with. It's hard when you don't know certain things, and it's hard to sometimes get opinions on what the best way to do things are. So I don't want you thinking that, you know, you're a bit stuck and you end up losing the love of colouring. If you are a bit stuck, just find me. Even if you want to send me a message, send me a message. I'm perfectly fine with that. I have a colouring group on Facebook, which you're also very welcome to join. I offer freebie pages over there, as well as all of the tutorials. We run competitions every month. We have challenges. So if you'd like to join that, that's over on Facebook, and I think that one's called something like, I'm so disorganized, Kelly Horton fan art, something like that. Kelly Horton fan group, the little darlings. It'll be along those lines. So come over onto Facebook and find me. If you can't find me, just send me a message on wherever you're seeing this, whichever, you know, social media you're seeing this on right now. Send me a message and then I can send you the link, so you're not off running around trying to find something that I don't even know myself. Right, so I think that looks really good at the moment, and because we want to do some fun things as we go, we're going to add some, maybe some crystals or some sparkly things to this dress. So ignore the fans, because we're going to paint over the top. This is what I mean about having our layers in order. This is my background, so this is going to be the very back. And this up here, here's my line art, which needs to remain at the top. Above here is the colours I've picked. But right here at the top, we can add some, you know, we've got a luminance thing here. We can add, I'm not going to, but, you know, these can sit on the top of the layers. So let's get rid of that. So these fans are going to end up further up the page. So they are actually going to cover that. So we don't need to worry about that at all. So let's knock these layers down, get rid of that one. I think we should put them on the one layer. And we can add some sparkly bits. Using this luminance here. So I usually use the light pen, and we are now just going to be working on this layer. And when it comes to adding things like diamonds, the best thing for you to do is different pressure will create different sizes. So you don't want them all to be one uniform size. And we want them to be a bit random, so all different sizes, different placements. And then I tend to have them kind of drift off as they move further in. I'm going to keep them to the line art. So it's just random, different pressure, different size crystals it's going to create. Just like that. If you can see, I'll come right in. So we could just use a normal ink pen for this, any one of these here. The reason why I'm using the light pen is because it does have this little orb of light at the center, and the harder you push, when you pull back, it looks more like a light. So it has a bit of a glow to it, which is why I use this one, but I don't put a lot of pressure on. I think I had too many together there. Let's get rid of that. There you go. And just come into the shadow areas. I always think it looks best. And then as we come into the inner parts of the dress, I just kind of fade them out. So there's no hard line that you can see where all of a sudden they end. They just kind of fade away. And as we move across the dress, we can give bigger gaps between them. We can push down harder so that it looks like the crystals have got bigger as we're moving down the dress. And it's definitely the biggest thing to remember is pressure and random. We end up finding ourselves by creating these little patterns that we don't mean to create. We do need to go back and correct them. Because we do, I mean, unless of course you want it to have a shape. If you want that shape, then of course carry on. I'm looking for random. Sometimes I will follow, you know, like the lines on some of the dresses, or if they've got pleats, I'll follow the pleats. But I think on this occasion, we're going to stick to random. So I think that looks great at the moment, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now, we're on this different layer here. We might be able to get away with duplicating that and moving it over. So if I duplicate that layer, I can pick it up, flip it over, and then move it onto this side. So I think we'll get away with it only a little bit. We'll get away with it here, but not the rest. We're going to have to do the rest ourselves. So let's just get rid of this bit from here and down there. Maybe get rid of some of these at the bottom, or we'll have to fix them. So it helped us do our job a little bit. Saved a little bit of time. We can bring it down here to the center like I did on the other side. Maybe some up there. There you go. And then we can just bring it back down the way we did on the other side. Now, if you were doing this with pens and pencils, this would be what your white gel pens would be, or your glitter gel pens, or your white Posca pens. I absolutely love using the white Posca pen and either glitter or metallic gel pens. They are like the final stage of anything that I do. And actually, there's other pens as well. They're like Stardust and Moon Dust. They're like paint brushes in a pen. And they're just so glittery. I use them quite a lot on fabrics, on dresses. That needs to go. That's from my layer that I forgot to erase. Yeah, because it gives, use them in backgrounds is brilliant. It just gives everything a sparkle. And I don't think you finished anything till it sparkles. Maybe I add too much glitter and gel pens at the end, but whatever. That's my favourite part. So there we have it. We have this sparkly kind of dress. Now we can also, let's drop them down together, add a couple of details, but I think this would come at the end and it'd go above the line art. So I'll show you what I mean. We can have, here we have a flare light. So it kind of adds that for us, which is great, but you don't get a lot of control with it. I mean, unless we can go in and make them quite small. That doesn't look too bad, actually. I tend to do it myself. So you can have them so that they're more like that. You can have them so that they were more random like the other. Or if I clear that and we turn on our drawing guide, we go to our 2D grid. This will help us if I put drawing assist on. Now we can only draw in straight lines like this, which is perfect if you have nothing but straight lines to do. But it works quite well when it comes to drawing a kind of shine of things like this. And if we pull out, that's what it looks like. So I like this method myself because I can adjust the sizes. Oh, that one was terrible. We can adjust the size. And because it's sitting on top of our line art, it really does stand off. Let's pick up quite a large one up here. A little bit bigger. A smaller one maybe down here. And basically you just do it until you think it's sparkly enough. If you like it, stop. If you don't, keep going. Maybe make a big one there. And then I think we need a bigger one over this side. And then once we get rid of this, there you go. So you can see now how that gives the sparkling effect. So I think what we've done here, we need to continue down onto the dress. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm still using the light pen. I'm going to turn it up slightly because it's a bigger area to fill. And I am going to do the exact same thing that we did on the upper part of the dress. I'm going to stick to these upper corner areas. So I'm going to focus here. I'm not going to add them further down, I don't think. But we'll see. Let's just get some in and we can see what it looks like. And just, I'm going to follow it round. And then because it's coming into the lighter area, I'm just going to fade it out. And now I'm going to do the same on this side. And I'm going to bring it down lower, but I don't think I should come any lower than here. I think we should just stay toward the top. So I'm adding some bigger ones than I did on the corset, because this is the skirt. And I think it should have some bigger ones. So as long as I'm spacing them out. I'm trying to be random, but you do find that you end up making these little patterns and you don't mean it. Let's just blend them out there, make them quite sparse. And we're nearly done. Like that. And I think that's perfect. I don't think we need to do the lower area because it's already quite light. So if anything, I can literally just add so that there's an idea that they continue, but we're not going to worry about filling all this area in. Just every now and again, I'll just drop one. So we know that it continues, but that area of the dress is lighter. So it's just not as shining as much as the rest. And then what we can do is add some of these again that we did here. Let's add a new layer. Drawing guide, turn that on and put my drawing assist on. And we can do the same thing here. So all I'm doing is making sure that my dot is at the center. And just try and get them the same length when I'm drawing them in. I also try to make sure that I get different sizes of these too, so it's not overpowering. Maybe a couple of little ones, and then I think we're done on the clothes. Let's have one more little one. Let's go there. No. That's why I couldn't find them, because I'm on the wrong layer. Let's come up here. These need to be sitting on top of the line art for them to be effective. So that's it. It goes there. And we're going to go into that one there. Maybe one here. And that's it. We'll turn that off. And that is how our clothes are looking. So we have this kind of good reflection from the material itself. And then we have all these sparkles over the top, which I think look really good actually. I am definitely happy with that. So I think the next thing we can do is move on to the jewellery. And then she's almost finished. We do have this headband here, and I'm going to make that in the same colours as the dress again. We need to be above the skin but below the hair. So if we come in here, I need to go back to my paintbrush and let's pick up, so we can just make this in the base colour. And we can actually add some sparkles to this as well, so that it all goes, everything kind of matches, everything works off each other. And then we have a kind of theme as well. With this girl, I think you'll notice that most of my colours have been kind of peacock related. They're the colours that I was looking for when I was picking out the colour palette for her. So let us pick up a brighter colour. So now I'm going to alpha lock this in, add a layer, and I'm going to select it and then move up a layer so that I don't have to worry about going out of the lines anywhere. And what I'm going to do with this one is make it lighter as we move to the center of the headband. So it's a really easy blend to do as well. So we can blend that straight out. We can even, doesn't really matter if we have some of these lines either. I know why that didn't work, because I didn't move it down. That's it. So I need to merge it down and now blend it. So I am just going to try and keep that. I don't mind if there's kind of like lines on this, because I want it to look like the light is what's created that lightest part in the center. And let's just add a bit more pink. Let's bring it in a little bit so it's not quite as bright in the middle. There you go. And then we can add some of these sparkly bits again. So they were in luminance at the top, and I was using this very bright pink here, that one. So we can, I want to go above, select, and we'll drop it down when we're happy. So with this one, I'm thinking maybe we should go with the headband. So keeping them quite small, I'm still trying to do variations, but maybe I should be following the shape. Try and drop some big ones in there. And we'll do it again on this side, and then we can see if we like it or not. Or should we have it, or should we just stick to the corners? I still can't tell. Maybe just that. Let's add a couple of bigger ones. And then we can add a little bit of those shine as well. And then I think that will be the clothing done. So I'm going to come up to my top layer where I was adding those lights a second ago, put my drawing guide back on. I'm on an assisted layer, and then I can add some of these, and they're going to be sitting above my line art so that it really stands out. I'm not going to do many because it's only a small headband, but I think it's quite effective. Let's turn that off so we can see what it looks like. I think that worked well. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm definitely happy with the colours. So we've almost finished her now. We can start adding some things maybe to, we've got her jewellery to do still, but there are things we can add while we're here. We can add some, let's come down to, let's go to this layer. And then we can add some sparkly bits to her lipstick, like it's either lip gel, lip gloss. You know, there could be some glitter in there as well. So we're looking at similar kind of textures and shapes to her dress. We want it to be a bit random. So when we pull back, it looks like lip gloss. We can add these things to her hair as well. What I want to do is a jewellery first, and then we can look at maybe adding these to her hair. And we may even change her eye colours, because I'm not liking that purple at the moment. So let me just see what the time is. We can keep going and get all of her jewellery done first, I think. So I'm going to come to the top layer of her, so we can have our jewellery at the front. I'm going to change back into my paintbrush and pick up that yellow. And I think we need to make it a little bit warmer, so I'm going to bring it down to this colour, flat lay the colour in, and then we can start adding some of that shine. So you can see that her skin tone, now that I've put that there, is actually quite yellowy. We may need to fix that depending on whether or not it works. Or at the same time, we could change the jewellery to silver. That might work. So if you're going to do silver jewellery, we're literally just going to lay down a grey. And then we can add all sorts of shine to it a little bit later once we've got all the colour down. So let's add grey instead of gold. And we can also add stones as well, so it doesn't need to be plain. But I do need to stay in the lines. As you can tell, I am awful at staying in the lines. We have this choker here that I've forgotten to do, and that needs to match the scarf, the headband, sorry, so I can fix that a little bit later. And let's get, I'm on the wrong one there. Where am I? There. And because I've moved these forward, so they're further up on my layers list, it means it sits on top of the layers below, which is why it works if we work from background right the way through to foreground. So I think that's the jewellery filled in. Now we have to do the earrings. And then we can work out making them look metallic, which is nice and easy once we've put the flat lay in, and we can alpha lock that into position. I think silver will probably go better than yellow because of our skin tone. But at the same time, we can always adjust the skin tone slightly, which I think we may do. I'm thinking we may want to bring in some more colours of pink to our skin tone. So that is all the jewellery down. So if we alpha lock that into position, which is there, and select and come up a level, we can start adding some of the darker silvers into there. So what I'm doing is, we were over here, so it's grey, but it's a warm grey. I actually want to bring it round so it's closer to the hair. So now we've got quite a cool grey. Because we've alpha locked that in, I am just going to go straight over the top, and you may not notice the difference, but there is, if I show you, there is a slight difference between, this is a cool grey and that's a warm grey, and that's a cool grey. So there is a difference. So let us select that again and then come up a level, and we're going to go darker so that we can create, I'll tell you what we should do. I'm going to go all of it darker. It'll be a lot faster if we go from dark to light rather than the other way. So let's go dark to light. So now we're going to come in with a lighter colour. I'm going to go back up a level in case we go horribly wrong. And when it comes to things like this, I'm going to go right down the centre so that that will be the brightest part in the centre of those jewels there. And I'm doing it this way because I'm looking at their shape, so that would make sense. It's most likely we're going to add something on this, but until we do, I'm going to follow the same rule. I want to go either side of that, and then here, there, and in the center. And then I'm going to move up again to about there and do it again. As you can see, I use both hands. So this one's using the pencil and this one over this side is using these tools. So if you see me moving around, it's like with this hand, it's purely because I'm changing the size of my brush or the opacity, and I do that constantly. So here it'd be a lot easier if I had a larger brush. So I'll just go in and change it, make it larger and then smaller again. And then I'll stay small to cover these bits here. Straight down the middle. And then straight down the middle again. And finally, we are going to be here, which is going to be basically white. And we're going to go in the middle. It's slightly off. It's not completely white, but it's enough to have that shine. And then again on the earrings. That's far too big. Just go straight down the middle. Too big. Straight down the middle again. Okay, now we need to blend these. So again, I'm not going to use an automatic blending tool. I'm going to do it myself. And I don't want them to blend perfect either. So I'm going to do it quite loosely. I don't mind if there's some rings there, because we're trying to show that it's a metal. And sometimes they do end up with, you know, kind of lines in them. Or let's go as big as we can and then just rock that out like that. And then come back down. Come on. There you go. My alpha locked. How is it I'm losing it? Merge down, Kelly. There. And then we can blend this out without worrying about it going outside of any lines or anything. That side and that side. I don't want it to be perfect. And again, let's go right out and just kind of rock that one. There you go. Let's try again. There you go. So instead of having gold, she's now got silver. We need to sort this choker chain out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the head one and I'm going to steal it. And we're going to drop that down and make it a lot smaller. It's a different shape, but it might mean, I was hoping that we might get away, which we're not going to, are we? I was hoping we'd be able to get away with not having to colour it all in perfectly, but we're not. Come on, maybe fit in that gap. Let's see if we can warp that. There you go. Let's just take away some of the outer areas. It doesn't need to have massive amount of detail because it's so small in the picture, but obviously it still needed to be done. So we got away with it. We were able to use a little hack there. So there we are. She would be, apart from the final highlights, completely done. And I think what we can do, because we are here and I would like to finish her before we go over onto the next stage, I think we should pick up this colour. Let's go a little bit brighter and add some sparkles to her hair the way I normally do, and then she's completely finished. So what I do is usually quite random. I just like them to have what looks like maybe diamonds or a bit of glitter, you know, kind of shining off their hair. I don't put massive amounts in. I just spread it around. It looks lovely if you're doing it traditionally. You can use your white Posca pens because they're perfect for this. Sometimes I'll follow them all the way down and I'll create, you know, strands. But this time I think this works better if we just kind of be a bit random with how we do it. And I think until we start using any lighting on the rest of the page, I think she's done. We can, Her skin tone will change depending upon the lighting positions, depending on the colour of the lights. All those things we need to decide next. So for now, this is, I think she is done, and we will make any more decisions regarding her skin tone if we want to change it when we start bringing the light colours in. And how it's going to fit into the environment. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. That is the end of part 2. Check back for part 3, where we will finish it completely, finish the border, and then we'll get some really nice light effects on the rest. So take care, guys. See you soon.